Hey everyone! If you're wondering why this video releases on a Wednesday, well, I thought with Clash of Wills upcoming tomorrow and me being pretty much occupied with studying for my absolutely last exam of my life, February 10th, that is, I don't. Well, I probably won't have that much time for other videos other than doing Clash videos for you guys and capping it myself, obviously. So I figured, let's do this video today. So, yeah, my general predictions, not too shabby. I missed the mark on Dragoon Kayn, but that's fine. I think to nobody's surprise, Kayn should be next week. But yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's dive right in at what potentially may come to us in the next few weeks. And we'll start us off, as always, with the Clash of Wills unit. That is a dead giveaway. We always get one. And I'm personally hoping for Roberta, because ever since she got announced, there has been quite a few months in between that announcement and, well, February. So hopefully, I mean, it could be any month now. Honestly, it could be February, it could be March. I wouldn't say April, because April is Easter event, and Easter is in the first 2 weeks, I believe, of April. So that's probably gonna hopefully be Near Vision Esther. That'd be great, but who knows? Anyway, I think it's gonna be Roberta. Hopefully. Please, Gumi, please do Roberta next. That'd be cool. Please. But yeah, next week I am fully prepared for Dragoon Kayn. Now his Trustmaster, 50 LB damage, 75 jump damage. Pretty good. Super Trustmaster, heavy armor, 70 attack, 20 defense, 150 jump damage. And for Kayn himself, it's 500 static attack. So it ain't shabby, honestly. The 70 attack is very good. It's almost at the level of Sephiroth, but there's still 10 base attack missing. So, well, I'm still gonna prefer Sephiroth's code over this one, especially because this is a heavy armor. Not many DPS units can wear heavy armors. The vision card, truth be told, nothing special. 100 base attack, 50 attack passive, 25 LB passive, and 500 static attack for Final Fantasy IV units. So it's kind of whatever. I feel like the vision card is pretty bad, truth be told. So how good is he? Kid-wise, he isn't that great in terms of kid, that is. For one, the strongest jump of his is A, light locked, and B, it has a 2-turn delay. Now hopefully Gumi will do the same thing they did for Arden and Noctis and make this a 1-turn delay jump, but I'm not holding my breath after seeing what they did to recent units and not buffing them. One has to see. The other thing, the grandest on him is a 280 attack one, 30 self-amp to light, 120 light imperil, 100% killer on Grandest. So this whole kit of his is just a whole disaster, in my opinion. And the vision card, like I mentioned, it's just super bad. The good things, though, on his Brave Shifted LB, Kayn does have a 140 Wind Imperil. So if you skipped Lena, like I did, here's your second chance at a 140% Wind Imperil. Nicely, though, he also comes with a 30% Spear Imperil, and to make gearing a little bit easier for him, he also has 500% innate jump damage. So not too shabby in terms of jumping. So Shetipo, I mean, he is the strongest Dragoon with the true double hand variance fix in mind. Please always remember that. He is the strongest Dragoon by a mile. However, like I just mentioned, he does have huge kit issues, mainly the attack buff and the weak light amp and imperil. It is also highly debatable whether Dragoons will make a comeback, and I feel like it is super unlikely that Dragoons will be relevant ever again unless they have absolutely crazy mods. Like well, Kane's mod is decent. I feel like it's 210x before variants, that is. And it sounds good. And with the variants fixed in mind, this is actually pretty decent. But it's still not enough to beat LB finishers. It's just that simple. So it needs to be higher. I think the sweet spot would be around 300x. True double-handed. Before true double-hand variance application modifier, that'd be something to keep in mind. But it is what it is, and it isn't what it isn't. So yeah, the LB office is pretty weak at 150x. And well, to answer the question whether you should pull, I mean, if you're a fan of Final Fantasy IV, yeah, you could. I personally would just use tickets, maybe. I don't know yet. Yeah, at first, I had him on my shopping list, but these days, I'm like, do I really want him? And I feel like the answer is mostly no. Next up is another evoker. It's Summoner Rydia. Trustmaster, 30 Evo Mag, 4 LB crystals, which is decent. The Super Trustmaster clothes, much like Lena. It's almost a carbon copy with just very, very tiny differences. So 15 defense, 60 magic, 60 spirit, 40 Evo Mag, 30 Evo damage, 100% Esper stats, and Rydia gains 500 static magic. Not the worst. It's actually pretty decent too, so no complaints there. Division card, just as bad as the one from Kane, to be honest. With 100 magic, 50% magic passive, 25 LB passive, and 500 static magic for Final Fantasy IV units only, I should mention. So yeah, how good is she? Oops, typo. How good is she? She only has 160 Evo damage and 100% Evo magic innately, meaning gearing her is going to be super tough. It's not as bad as it is gearing Summoner Yuna, but it's still pretty bad. Also, Grandis, the usual shenanigans, 280 magic buff, 30% ice amp for self. She has to unlock her quadcast. I was hoping that we were past these things, but apparently we are not. The kit itself is super lame, just as is the vision card, so nothing going for her in terms of kit and damage, to be honest. The good things though, the STMR for one, and the second good thing about her are the different Esper fields. So you summon Leviathan, Ashura, and Behemoth, and respectively gain Spirit, Attack, and Magic, which is cool. 100 more attack to your party through an Ashura field. Sounds good to me, honestly. And maybe this is going to see some use in Dark Visions? Who knows? Who knows? So, should you pull? I mean, she's a decent Ice Evoker, literally Ice Terra, but like I mentioned the other day on my Lena review, that Evokers aren't that relevant in the current state of the game, so her value isn't as high as one would like her to be. She also needs pauses as TMR to gain 400 to double hand magic, or else you will have trouble gearing her. But on the other hand, the STMR is pretty nice. But all in all, I think it's not worth going for her. It's better just to wait for an off banner, truth be told. And with the Final Fantasy IV banner, potentially, and I'm saying potentially here because Global Barbariccia and JP Barbariccia have differences. And if Gumi wants to go the lazy route, they will just scrap Barbariccia NVA. So what does she gain? She gains a Groundless one-time use, has innate quadcast, increases modifier for her LB. So yeah, there are a few things in there that are decent, but nothing really stands out, truth be told. And the Brave Shift, as you can see, she does have the stacking ability, as you can see here. So she can stack up to 6 times for 300% more magic. Has a pretty decent wind resistance buff at 130%. So yeah, she does a few nice things, but like I said, I have a feeling she's not making it to global. And then, and everyone on this video is probably super excited about this, I foresee Xenogears this month, or next month, I should say. And with Xenogears Collab, why Xenogears? before we get to the nitty-gritty stuff, Gumi just hates Mana series for whatever reason, so I don't believe that they are gonna do Legend of Mana. I wish they would, because I'd be super happy and super excited. I think you guys know that I love the Mana series. I was super excited for Hawkeye and Angela. So if they do the Mana series, the Legend of Mana collab and Legend of Mana Vision World, I'd be super happy. But I wouldn't be sad if it were Xenogears instead, because I also think that Xenogears is a great game, and I'd love to have this collaboration as well on the global server. So with Xenogears Collab, we're getting 2 Neovision and 1 Neovision Awakening. One of the Neovision units that we're getting is id. Since the wiki doesn't have any sprites available of these units, I just included their artworks here. So id's Trustmaster is a materia with 500 static attack. That is rather interesting for a materia. And 100% Machina Killer physical and magical. Please keep in mind that the materia is only really usable on Xenogears units, because both of these passives only apply to Xenogears units. The Super Trustmaster is unrestricted though. It is 70 attack, 15 defense, 3 LB crystals per turn, and 100 LB fill rate. I like this STMR, honestly. I always dig LB crystals and LB fill rate, especially on units such as Lara Croft, who starves for LB fill. The vision card though, rather let down, truth be told. 100 base attack at 10, 50 attack at level 1, 25 LB at level 4, and 500 static attack for Xenogears units at 10. The values, they seem low these days. We do have 125 cards wildly available nowadays, so 100 doesn't cut it anymore. I feel like they should buff this at least, in my opinion. So how good is id? He does have an interesting unarmed gearing niche, because if you gear him without weapons, he gains 1,000% more attack, which is huge. The same will apply to Graf, whom we'll be talking about in a minute. And both these units, they can reach absurd levels of attack without wearing a weapon. However, the downside of this is that there is no variance. Now, some may say this is a good thing, because variance is a bane and everyone hates variance. I do too. But then again, if you think about this, missing out on a, say, 1.7x variance roll, well, this sounds bad, doesn't it, no? So missing out on such a huge damage swing could be potentially bad, and as it turns out, Graf lost relevancy rather, I don't want to say quickly, but shortly after getting released. I think he was relevant for 2 or 3 Dark Visions, and because Global is way more ahead in terms of damage, Graf might only be relevant for his own Vision World and not be that relevant anymore for the next Dark Visions that follows in March probably. So always keep that in mind. The STMR is pretty decent. The TMR very strong for Xenogear units, but in terms of damage, it is sadly massively behind, and he really needs big buffs, Angela style big buffs. The kid also is super boring, especially when you compare him to Graf, and the vision card, like I mentioned, is rather weak. So should you pull? Truth be told, it is the worst of the 2 Neovisions that get released on the Xenogears Collab, and mainly serves as TMR fodder for Graf. He is in dire needs of severe buffs, especially his limit burst, and I'll just mention this. I know you guys are super excited for Xenogears, and most of you will pull regardless, so you will get it alongside Graf anyway. So, a lot of mentions of Graf already. This is Graf. Let's talk about him now. So Graf, same shtick with the materia. Instead of machine killer, he has human killer on it and 500 static attack. Chestmaster is ahead at 60 attack and 15 defense, so pretty good. And the best thing about this is 50 LB damage on that head. And also 100% LB fill rate, which is, yeah, I just personally want this STMR to be 5 times in my inventory right now. This is how good it is. I really want to have it. I'm gonna have multiple copies of it because I think it's really, really good. Now, we do have the Clash of Wilds helmet. We do have the Clash of Wilds Tiana, I would say. Is it Tiara? Sorry, Tiara, and the one from Clash of Wilds Season 3. But still, this holds up rather well alongside these Clash items. Division card, same deal as with it. Sadly, still underwhelming. So how good is Graf? Again, he too has that interesting unarmed gearing niche, an amazing STMR, strong TMR, and he is able to deal high amounts of damage, which is rather nice. The bad things are the missing variants, the very weak vision card, and truth be told, you need someone to dispel him when he buffs himself up. He works kind of similarly to Regina, in that he has a pentacast with 5 unique selection abilities, and 2 of those abilities that you have to use because they are the greatest modifier increases, they imbue him with water and earth. And if you don't want to use water and or earth, you have to dispel him. Luckily, the buffs, the modifier buffs, they are undispellable, so you're actually only dispelling the imbues, which is nice, but it takes away a turn from another unit, which is not so nice anymore. So that's the only downside of his having to get dispelled for the imbues. So yeah, should you pull? I mean, he is the star of the banner with very good damage output, but I feel like he's going to fall behind rather quickly though, especially with the global side of things. He will be obviously needed for the high score in Vision World, but he is a very versatile unit if you equip someone else with Rage Beast Roar, which is the dispel I just mentioned, and he becomes a pretty handy unit to have. And let's be honest here, you guys will pull, so will I, and he is the STMR, he is worth the STMR alone, and it's one of the best things about him, and he also is a rather strong unit as of right now. We're also getting Faye. Faye doesn't get any new limit burst or abilities. Instead, he gains a lot of passives, as you can see. 500 static attack at EX plus 3. So Faye isn't that bad anymore. Or, I mean, for an NVA, he isn't that bad, but he isn't Titus levels of good. So yeah. And he also has a Brave Shift, which comes at a huge cost. You have to have him at EX plus 2 to gain access to the best thing about him, which is a modifier increase for his limit burst. I find it weird that this is unlocked at an EX level and isn't just baseline, but considering that he is an NVA unit and will probably fly into everyone's unit stash anyway, this shouldn't be too hard to do. So yeah, all in all, with the modifier increase accounted for, this is a 300x dark physical damage LB that he has. So that's not too shabby, but keep in mind, NVA, lower base stats, so he won't deal that much damage. Alright, next up is Ninja Edge. He is also a, I believe, Final Fantasy IV unit, if I'm not totally mistaken, but released later than Dragoon Kane. He's SLB and he got released after the variants fix. So, but before we get to that, because this is something that you have to keep in mind for the Katana, but the Trust Master on his unlocks a new ability, just like the STMR, no, the TMR from Tulian does. This one is also debuffers only. It's an 85% attack or all stats break for 3 turns on all enemies, and it also imperils lightning by 130% for 3 turns, also all enemies. Pretty cool, but we got that from Tulian already. The Super Trust Master is a katana. It's a one-handed katana at 198 attack, 150 defense and magic. And the variance, because of the variance fix for all weapons, is now fixed at 1.05 to 1.25x variance. So please keep that in mind. We have to have the variance fix for that. I'm very curious to see how they're going to handle the katana if we don't get the variance fix by that time. Other than that, the Katana is still very stacked, 20 evasion, 20 passive provoke, and it also unlocks an ability for 100 defense on one ally and 30% physical damage mitigation on one ally. So that's a rather interesting Katana there, and I'm kind of curious to see some use cases for this, if there are any. Division card, 70 attack, 70 magic, straight up trash, 25% attack magic. But on the flip side, debuffers get a 100% human killer level 7 and a 100% LB damage. So this could be interesting, but I feel like it's still a trashy card, mainly due to the low base stats. So how good is he? His kit is an entire dumpster fire. He does a lot of things, but none of them are particularly good. Another dumpster fire application is that his SLB is an 87 break, but his good break, the 88% break, only to defense and spirit, mind you, is on a single-use Grandis. Like, whoever thought of this, please stop drinking or stop using what you've been using. The stuff you take is not that good. Anyway, he also has a 35 lightning amp for self on the SLB, which is bad. It should be 50 at bare minimum, or on the Grandis too. And super bad vision card stats. The good things though, the SLB has a 145 lightning imperil, thus already power creeping Dorgan. And it also has a 160% AoE insect killer physical magic tied to it, which I find good. And for a debuffer unit, Ninja Edge deals serviceable damage. The vision card passives might be a nice gimmick for some units. And one of those units would be Angela, for example. Now, I personally would never use the vision card on Angela because we would lose out on 40 base stats, and that is a lot of magic lost. And I don't feel like the human killer and the LB damage will make up for it because, well, then again, we wouldn't have to use Yuna as STMR anymore and could use 70 magic equipment pieces. So it's hard to say right now, but I feel like the vision card won't make the cut on Angela. I haven't mathed it out yet, to be honest. But because of the low base stats, I feel like it's straight up unusable, regardless of conditions. And yeah, truth be told, Ninja Edge is nothing special as a breaker, since Cacteria is vastly superior as a unit in terms of breaking. But when it comes to also dealing damage, Ninja Edge edges out other dedicated breakers. And yeah, the pun is intended. I feel like still, regarding the question whether you should pull, skipping might be the best course of action here, and just hoping for a decent off-banner at some point in time. And we're also gonna get, potentially again, another New Vision Awakening, which is Ruby Kent, or Ruby Kanti, I don't know how you pronounce that name. Reason is, the global version and the JP version vastly differ, so there might be a case where Gumi says, nah, we're not gonna do anything here and just skip the unit. That wouldn't be surprising. But then again, skipping this unit wouldn't be even that bad, because just like most of the Neo Vision Awakenings we're getting, they're just not worth it. I mean, I can count the good Neo Vision Awakened units on one hand. There's 3. Well, technically there's only 2 right now, Tidus and Kryla. 3 gonna be Squall we're getting with Final Fantasy VIII, and that's about it. I don't count Elena as a good Neo Vision Awakened unit. She's, in my book, she's just a poor man's Kresnik. And that's, you can't convince me otherwise, honestly. So yeah, in his Brave Shift, he is also stacking mage, has a rather weak, as you can see, limit burst at 130x fire magic. It's nothing to write home about. I mean, it's a 230x because he can buff this up via the cooldown, but it's still not really something you would write home about, honestly. And that is it. And let's talk about my release predictions. So, I mean, to no one's surprise, next week's is gonna be Dragoon Kane and Summon Iridia. There is no doubt about it from my side. And then on February 10th, I feel like it's time for Xenogears. And the reason is, Clash of Wilds ends, and thus either Dark Vision or Vision World starts. And everything points towards it being Xenogears instead of Legend of Mana. So there's that. I then feel like on February 17th we're gonna see the Ninja Edge raid event. Although, if Gumi is really generous, we could see the Sino Alice collaboration, which would be another mocking. So we'll see about that. I feel like Sino Alice and Xenogears double back-to-back collab event? I don't think so. Which is why Ninja Edge should be the next one that we get. And at the end of February, it's gonna be Clash of Wilds time. Still hoping for that Roberta, by the way. And if you're missing Medina on the list, yeah, I gave up on her. And that is it for today. Thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know in the comments what units you guys think you will be seeing in February. And with that, have a wonderful rest of the Wednesday evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you're from. And we'll see each other tomorrow for some Clash of Wilds. Bye bye.